Alexio.
Thanks everyone for joining our session. So today I'm with a colleague of mine, Marius, who is also on the line. So on our session today, we're going to have a two-way conversation to tell you how we can get started in the technology. Marius, do you want to get started?
Yes, thank you, Alex. Like so far, great session from Julia and Will. Really, I joined all of them, and basically, I have question to audience. How are you doing today? Can you just type what is the weather? What is your mood today? And from where are you? But basically, everybody is welcome. How are you guys? I see feedback. Very good. And thank you for joining to that call. And we can get started. So basically, today's session is like Tricia mentioned, is how can you get into the tech and how the community can help you. And first, a big thank you to our sponsors, so resco.net, MSCRM add-ons, and RSM. And let me just introduce Alex. Alex is functional consultant, 6-year experience in Dynamics 365. And you can approach Alex easily on Twitter. Here's his address on Twitter and obviously on the LinkedIn. So please don't hesitate to contact him over social media. And I am passing to you, Alex.
Great. So we spoke about how the community can help already in the title of our session. One of the things I'm going to do here, you already know Marius. He's a solution architect within the Dynamics 365 space for the past 13 years. To keep our community growing, for those who haven't connected with Marius, let's connect with him on his Twitter handle. Let's share ideas of how the community can get better. And you can also connect with Marius on LinkedIn as well.
So for the audience benefits, I just wanted to make it clear, we wanted to keep that presentation a little bit innovative, more interesting, interactive way. So it will be like a chat, like a talk show style, instead of like having monologue traditional presentation. I think it will be more interesting. And today over today session we would like to answer for the following question. So how I can get into the Dynamics 365, how to get started with Dynamics 365 Power Platform, and how the community can help me, actually can help us. And I think it would be a great example how you can get into the Dynamics 365 if we can hear the personal story from Alex. And Alex, basically, what's the story? What is your personal story? How you get into the Dynamics 365?
Yeah, so the name Dynamics 365 is almost everywhere now. Power Platform is everywhere. So I'm going to tell you a personal story here. Myself, back in 2014, I was working as a revenue officer, checking people's tickets on the train. And I kept hearing people saying technology, technology. So one of the questions I started asking myself is, how do I get myself to it? And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of our colleagues out there who also want to get into the technology. So how can I do it? So the first thing I did was to go find myself a very cheap laptop. I didn't have a computer at the time. I didn't see any need for it. So I had a laptop. I started going on Facebook, looking at some of the people who are actually in the tech. So one person can say that was the wrong starting point. But from my own personal experience, I didn't know where to go. So I started with Facebook. I came across a managing director for one of the organization Dynamics consultancies in Austria. So one of the things there, he was very open to myself. He says, I'm more than happy to help you to get where to. Dynamics is quite a big space. But what I want you to do is to make a decision. If you want to go down the track of sales, customer service. So we spend quite some time learning it, set up a trial environment. So why is a trial environment very important? You get to get that hands-on experience for yourself. So for anyone looking to get into technology, get yourself that trial environment, have a feel of what the technology is all about. So eventually started feeling comfortable. The very first thing I was comfortable with was to create a contact record, to create an account. I didn't realize there was a bit more to it. So I didn't know what was behind it. So the next thing, which was recommended, so now this person I met on Facebook, they now become a mentor. So what they said to me is, can you go and do a 5-day course at QA? So I know how to create contacts, I know how to create accounts. So I stepped into the training course. It was to do with customization and configuration. So very, very intense training course, meeting some people in the industry already. In some cases, some of the things were going from one ear to another, but I had to ask myself, okay, how do I actually make those improvements to actually understand what's happening? So I have the training material, took it home. I went to give feedback to my mentor, and I was very honest. I said, look, the training course was amazing, but only 10% is the only thing I could understand. So I said to him, I'm going to do everything I can to read the material and ask you questions. So one of the things here for anyone looking to join the tech, there's so many people out there willing to help, but it starts from yourself, not shying away, not being scared. So went through the material. After I would say about 2 months, I was very comfortable with some of the tech in terms of creating custom entities, creating workflows, doing some customizations. And then my mentor said, you know what? I want you to start going for interviews. So I got my first role, had a phone call interview, the screen share. They're now asking me, can you show us what it is in Dynamics? At that point, it was CRM 2013. This was a CRM house, it was a consultancy. So fortunately, they gave me the opportunity. They said, look, we're really keen to have you join us. So I joined the consultancy. And on the very first day, that's when I believe the nightmare was happening. So I got there, I've applied for a first line job, just do first line support. And then I'm there, there's 4 colleagues sitting on the side. They're now being told, Alex is your second line specialist. Any problems you have, go to him. So I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to tackle such an issue? Because I'm only starting off. So one of the things I did, which is very important if you're getting started with the technology in itself, you have the community side. You can go and ask questions and also understand in terms of documentation of what the organization is doing, what processes are there, what is the current setup. Once you have that understanding, it then help to build you to go to the next level. So I started seeing online, and I'm seeing these titles, they say MVP, and I'm thinking, what does that mean? So someone says to me, oh, that's some of those guys in the community who can help me. So that was one of my colleagues I'm working with. So one of the London user groups, which is again very important once you're getting started or once you're in the community. A day like today, we're sharing some of these experiences. We can learn, we can share. So I went to this user group and again, I got there and I'm seeing there's quite a few people, I think about 50 on this specific day. So I went to sit right at the back within this sitting area because I was a bit nervous. I'm thinking, okay, I don't want these guys to ask me any questions. So started seeing people speak, came across people like Chris Huntingford. There's quite so many people to name a few here. So the day went well, and how amazing the community is, which I also recommend for anyone getting started. It's how people are so friendly, how people are willing to help. So once you go to these events, once you come into these virtual events, make those connections on LinkedIn. It's not just about going to ask people questions. It's also to keep track of what everyone else is doing. learn from it. Once you learn from it, also share your experiences so other people can learn from those experiences. So the journey carried on. So within that journey, of course, there were challenges. One of the best things, which I will always remember in my first role, was to do a bulk delete, and the whole database went. So again, to avoid those kind of issues, those kind of mistakes, which are very, very bad, it's important to understand how our actions or implications of some of the settings or things we're doing in Dynamics will impact the organization. So the journey carried on, and I'm going to hand over back to Marius so we can more or less have that conversation to see how the community is very, very important for anyone within the technology.
Thank you, Alex. It was very interesting, actually, story, and I was happy to hear what I captured. Just to summarize, maybe your personal story is like I noticed three important things which you mentioned. First is like having mentor and making connections, like having networking is very important when you get when you try to get to the dynamics. The second part, which I noticed, is like is good to self-improve yourself, learning from the mistakes, learning from the our mistakes or other people's mistakes. And I see you are also like a self-taught person, which is good. It's actually impressive that you was able to learn so much. And the third thing which I captured is like being proactive. Keep asking, don't hesitate to ask, which is very important. And I am happy to go to the next slide when you mentioned about getting started, that certificates, courses are important. And can you speak more about it? Can you go through that following courses? Which one are the most important and why for you? Over to you, Alex.
Thanks, Marius. So one of the best things which has happened out there from Microsoft perspective, they've made these learning materials available for everyone for free. So one of the most important sites which I recommend for anyone looking to get started, anyone in the technology already, is to utilize Microsoft Learn. If you're getting started, you want to know the foundations, you want to understand what is Dynamics 365 all about, what is the Power Platform all about. I would recommend you start looking at the fundamentals training courses. So for Dynamics 365, you want to understand what is the sales module, what is customer service, what is involved. Then you can also look at the Power Platform fundamentals. You want to understand how Power Automate works, what is involved in Power BI, Power Apps, what is involved. So make yourself knowledgeable with the foundations. Once you understand the foundations, I always recommend keep challenging yourself. So you can go and do the fundamentals course. You can understand it very well. However, I always encourage everyone to share their experiences. To say, oh, I want to do this training course, but I found this interesting. What is everyone else's feelings? So that's where you can start utilizing LinkedIn. You can utilize Twitter. Start asking or having these conversations with others. So one of the training courses, an exam which has recently been released by Microsoft, it's the Power Platform Functional Associate, which is the PL200 exam. One of the things is we're talking about exams here, we're talking about training. Why is it important? So from my own personal point of view, and from also encouraging others, it's you get to learn what's involved. You get to try some of the things you are learning. And then going for the exam, you're validating your understanding of what you've been learning. So in terms of cost for these exams, they will be dependent on your location. However, one of the things, again, Microsoft are always looking out for everyone to make sure we benefit from their tech. If you've been impacted by COVID, you'll be eligible for the COVID scheme. So if you go to the certifications page, you'll be able to access that. Marius, over to you.
Oh, it was actually interesting for me because, and I believe for the audience, because some of that exams are quite new, I believe, like Power Platform App Maker is something which is demoed on the market now. And can you just a little bit explain why having these certificates is so important now that why it's good to have them and that we can be more competitive, more attractive on the market. Can you tell more about it, please?
Yeah, so most of these are certifications, apart from just doing the exam in itself. When you are learning the technology, it helps when you go and deliver on these projects because you now understand what is achievable, what is not achievable, what is a workaround which can be used, what solution is appropriate. So going through these materials and also going for the exam, you're validating that understanding. When you're going to look for a role, when you're going to the market, sometimes you stand out because there's that validation of the skills you have.
Okay, very, very interesting. And by the interest of the audience, can you maybe indicate which one a certificate, which one exam you would take first, and why, in your opinion?
So, in my opinion, in this day now, I'll always recommend Power Platform fundamentals. Reason being is everything is going to the Power Platform. So I would encourage everyone to start learning about Power Platform to understand what's involved. You also have the option to go and try out this technology. So once you try out this technology, it takes you to another level. You now have questions to ask. So as we are going through these conversations, if anyone has any questions to ask about what we're speaking about, please feel free to put those in the chat window, or at the end, feel free to ask any questions related to our sessions. We'll do as much as we can to answer those.
Yes, actually, it's a great idea. If you have your favorite exam from these four, please type in the meeting chat. We all are wonder which one was the most important or which one maybe you are gonna take, and you have some thoughts about it. So from that list, because like we see, certifications and exams are very important in our community, that we are get improved. It's a part of self-improvement, and we know more, and that technologies are changing. So obviously there is more opportunities and more exam certification on the Microsoft market. And in meantime, I can go to the next slide. That one, we are talking how the community can help us. And on that slide, we put together useful links. So when it comes to the user groups, there's a question how I can find out the closest local community user group in my area, and we believe actually that one link is the best. So basically, if we go using that URL on this website, we can just pick up. If we are from Paris, obviously Paris, but for example, for the London, if I try to find the closest user group, it gives me that result. So always we can just type in our town and we can find the closest. So I believe that website is the most useful. In the chat box, actually, maybe you can mention which one user group actually is the most important, this the most interesting for you. I wonder what is the feedback for our audience. Which one user group have you found the most interesting for you, and why? In meantime, I'm happy to go to the next URL, which is a forum, community forum, which I personally, and I'm pretty sure many of you have found useful, that on Microsoft Dynamics 365 community forum, there's, like you see, many sections, and there's a bunch of post article, people post there and share about their problems, technical, functional, non-functional, and what are the resolutions. So that one we can also recommend it like a dynamics forum if you would like to learn more, share your problems or the solution. When it comes to the connect, so how you can connect and learn, definitely one of the most important and interesting is Microsoft Learning portal, which I am happy to share now. It's very interesting. I'm not sure how many of you have used already, but basically when you go to that portal, actually you can select that you are developer or you are administrator or app business analyst or even both, but basically you can specify what is your role. I'm even wonder from our audience, how many developers do we have today on the call? If you can type on the meeting chat box. Because if you are a developer, basically what you need to do is select here developer, select what is the level on which one you believe you are, and is it either Dynamics 365 or Power Platform, and you can find the suitable course for you, modules. So it's very specific, very granular, well structured way actually of the learning and connecting. And the second thing which we can recommend is trials, Dynamics trials. I am happy to share. Here is official site for the trials. So like you see, when you would like to learn yourself more in practice, you can pick up one of the modules like a sales or customer service, and you can start basically prototyping, doing the customizing. So it's very useful. And also, maybe if I can, maybe I will be able to show one of the trials, for example, which I use personally. Like you see, you can get the trial for 30 days, and basically you can have access to everything what Dynamics 365 does, and all entities you can customize. So I think it's great opportunity for a community member to basically start working, start learning, start sharing. And if I now come back, I can obviously, as a last thing, recommend Twitter as a good social media to get involved. Just to give you an example, if I go now, I see, please see how many posts are when it comes to the Dynamics 365, how many when it comes to the Power Addict. So you are not alone. There is many things, many places, social media when you can really ask. And obviously something which I wonder how many people from you guys were already on the virtual event hub. Please type on the meetings chat box. I am wonder because it's great opportunity for us. I think when it comes to the getting involved, there's many places, and I'm passing to you, Alex, so you can summarize the useful resources.
Thanks, Marius. So, in terms of what Marius just went through there, it is very, very important for us to get involved. So, if you look at the story I just shared of how I get started myself, I spent so many months, so many years bugging people, saying, okay, what do you think will be the best course of action in achieving such a requirement? One of the things which will be nice and which will be helpful for our community is to also start getting involved. So when I say getting involved, you might have an interesting project you've been involved in, and you might have some challenges. You can start by blogging about some of the interesting things about that project, some of the challenges, and how you went through those challenges, why it's important for you to get involved, apart from sharing that valuable knowledge you have acquired yourself. You're also helping build the community. So the community in itself is very, very important. So we spoke about local meetings. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in a pandemic. So one thing which has been available now, as Marius has shown earlier, we have the D365 UG resources. So it could be a user group in Canada, it could be a user group anywhere around the globe. The materials are always uploaded. You're always welcome to go and have a look and say, okay, what was this session about? What was this person speaking about? From that session, in some cases, you learn something which you like, or something which will help you excel to the next step. So just a question for the audience here. How many people have gone to the resources area and start looking at slides? If we can have some yeses and some nos in the chat window, that would be appreciated.
Yes, it will be good actually. Because not all it's easy when we are talking and showing these things, but even I catch myself that I didn't know about some groups, I didn't know about the resources, so it's very useful that we can get these things easily. Sometimes we just don't know about it.
Yeah, so it's very, very important for us to keep with this information, to see what is it being discussed, what are the experiences from our peers, from our colleagues who are working within the dynamic space or the technology space. You also have a Microsoft Learn. So one of the benefits of Microsoft Learn, as compared to a while back, where I used to rely on the Imagine Academy, which was an academy you have to have some sort of permissions to see that learning material. Microsoft Learn is updated regularly. So you're not going to read something, then you go and try and find it, then it's not there. So it's one of the improvements which Microsoft have kindly brought out for everyone. So this is available to any corner of the world. So you can just go to the site, look at it. Again, there's no pressure to say you need to complete it by tomorrow or by next week. It is self-paced. You go through at your own pace to make sure you get the understanding. Once you have the understanding, it's amazing of some of the things you can pick up from it and go and put into the real world. We have some updates which keep being made from the Microsoft side. So you have updates to Power Automate, Power Apps, Dynamics, any other technology of Microsoft. So why and where do you go to look into this? So look at yourself, look at Cloud Blogs. So on Cloud Blogs, any updates, any new blogs written, you'll be able to see at some of the updates or some of the things coming, or some of the customer stories of people using the Microsoft technology. In some cases, one might wonder, why do I want to know about a customer story? So knowing a customer story, in some cases, you might be involved in a project alike, or if you are starting, it gives you that flavor to understand what actually happens when I go out there to a project. What actually are the challenges? What were the most important things on this specific project? So it's very, very important to keep yourself up to date. Again, we're just on the third link here. One might think that's a lot of information to consume. So again, you don't need to go and consume it in one go. You can say probably end of the week, you're going to go and see what's on there, or you're going to go and see anything which is on there. So again, you have Azure, you have Power Platform, you have Dynamics 365. So just to mention those three, one of my favorite ones here is Microsoft Azure. Why Microsoft Azure? It is the base technology. That's where you talk about Power Automate, you talk about Power Apps, Microsoft Azure. That's where the foundation, that's where everything is held. So again, for anyone out there who's looking to understand what's involved, again, Microsoft have been offering free Azure training, fundamentals training, and at the end of it, you get a free exam voucher. So anyone keen to understand these things, you can only see some of the resources available to you. You can see what is there for you. And it doesn't necessarily mean someone getting started. It could be somebody in the technology already. It's very important you keep upskilling yourself, you keep pushing yourself. So we already saw the Events Hub. So why is the Events Hub very important? So on this one here, I want to give credit to Chris Huntingford and the team who brought this calendar together. So on the Events Hub in itself, you can subscribe to it. So once you subscribe to it, you're going to have it in your Outlook. And why want to have it in your Outlook? So most of the events taking place globally are surrounding the Power Platform, surrounding Dynamics 365. The events, they will be here. So if you see, this is the event today on the 7th, and every single day of the week, mostly, there is something happening. Again, it does not mean move away from everything you're doing, going for every single event. But again, you can see what's there, what might be relevant for you. Go and join, learn. Apart from learning, conversate with other peers who are already in the industry. So one of the things, again, which I've noticed myself from personal experience, we tend to hear this name, Microsoft MVPs, Microsoft employees, and sometimes we go to these events or we conversate with them. We kind of get a bit nervous. In my experience, I was very scared. I won't lie about that. But it's important to have these conversations, learn from them, and also share your experiences. In sharing your experiences, they might have some similar experiences, and you can share, you can come to an understanding of any problems which you might have. So the virtual events hub is very, very important. There's no excuse for anyone to say, oh, I've missed this event. It's already there. Everything is brought into the calendar. So this calendar goes on until next year. So you can just keep going through the months and then see what you need to go to, what you need to subscribe to. So again, going back to the slides, we spoke about yourself, start learning the Power Platform, start learning Dynamics 365. In terms of the Power Platform, specifically, you might encounter some issues, things not working. You might get to a point where you don't understand what is going on. So in my own example, on a previous project I was working on 3 months ago, I had a solution which was required to go and fetch a SharePoint document, send some approval emails to the senior management team, and at the same time, go and create a record within Dynamics 365. So Power Automate, it was amazing. It was great. I like it. So I got your point. One of the connectors was failing. So I looked everywhere around the blogs. I looked around Microsoft. There was something similar, some guidance on how to achieve it. But for me, it wasn't actually connecting. So what do? I'm not going to give up. I need to make sure it works. So one of the tools which came in hand is I went to pose a question, and I put some screenshots together and an explanation of what I'm looking to do. And I used the hashtag Power Addicts. So in terms of Power Addicts, it's a huge group of people within the space, within the technology space. So again, they're not charging you to help you. They're sharing ideas. They're kind of giving you some direction. So the question here is, you are not going to get stuck once you get started. There's someone out there willing to help. There's someone out there who's had the same experiences. So the next part of it on the third point is yourself to also share with others. So we kind of keep it going. That's how important that community has become in our time. So Power Addicts, the hashtag, don't forget it. Go on Twitter, ask your question, even connect with some of the people there. So this is my first presentation in the UK. How did that presentation come about? It came about from Twitter. So again, I went to pose a question on Twitter, got into a conversation with a consultant on the other side in the Americas region. We got into a conversation about dynamics, and they said to me, why don't you get involved in the community and share some of your ideas and your experiences? And the answer, which was there for myself, is I'm a bit nervous. I'm not so sure. So how do I then go to the next step? So we had a few conversations. So I'm going to name the colleague here. The person is called Mary Thompson. So we got involved into conversations. We had Teams meeting. And again, Mary has a day job to do. So she took time out of her own day job to sit down to discuss. So there was no pressure to say, no, go and do it, go and do it. But again, it's just a conversation. It just goes to emphasize the importance of the community, how important we are together. So together we'll always be stronger, that's for sure. So Power Addicts, remember that hashtag. Again, you also have some guidance on how you can go and create a trial environment to have a hands-on experience yourself. So you have the Dynamics 365 trials. There's also the power part of it, the power platform. How do you get the guidance? So the URL on the slides, Marius, if you can go to that URL, it gives us some guidance of what we need to do in terms of setting up some of these trial environments. And then we can make an informed decision of which trial environment we're going for. And again, you see, there is some screenshots to it. Someone was very kind enough to sit down, put the screenshots, put the ideas. So again, the amount of material we have at our disposal to learn, to get hands-on to this technology, it's just unlimited. And again, it's free. You're not paying to try the technology. You're not paying to learn it. Sit here, learn, ask questions. Never be scared to ask any questions. The more you ask questions, the more you learn. The more everyone else feels, okay, we have someone out there called Alex. We have someone out there with this name. They might reach out to get some guidance. And that way, we keep going to the next step. So just before we go to the next part, do we have anyone who's just starting within the technology? Please feel free to come in the chat window and just say yes. Don't be shy. Just come in and say yes. You're getting started with the technology. If we have any, that would be appreciated.
Do we have only experienced people when it comes to the Dynamics and Power Platform? There is anybody new in the audience who has found that URL's recommendation useful? So I see there is no response like so far in the meeting chat. So only experienced people. But anyway, it's like all the time. Oh, there's one person new to the Power Platform, Dio. Like you see, there's I couldn't agree more with Alex that sky is just a limit when it comes to the learning and being active person in the community. So there's, like you see, so many ways, so many websites, so many portals to learn, so we can get this information from free. So it's only up to us how much and when we can learn all these things that are available online virtually, so we can do it ourselves even. So there's no excuses, no excuse. If you want, you can do it. And I see also, like Alex mentioned, big part of our learning resources are on the Twitter. So you just need to put the hash, ask the question, or find the newest even when the time when I was talking, there are some new posts on the Twitter for the Power Addicts, for the Dynamics 365, like you see, and even I see on the LinkedIn our event is there some new posts the time we are actually speaking. So there's always something, there's always opportunity. Um, and um, and what I actually have found very useful personally, and I wonder how many of you on YouTube actually you can find even our presentations. Our presentation are sessions are available on the YouTube on the PowerTon. But when it comes to the Dynamics Power Platform, you can find so much things, so much inspiring videos there. So once again, like sky is just a limit when it comes to the community, and our community is growing. So I have just a question, yes or no. Have you used for the searching anything useful for the Dynamics YouTube already? I have question to the audience, yes or no. Have you found YouTube useful for learning? I see some yeses. So very good. And our sessions are also they will be available. So always there is a great opportunity to learn from the YouTube. YouTube, like one person mentioned, YouTube is very useful, but because you can actually see the video, you can see from the beginning to the end how does it work, how something was created, not just like a static text. Sometimes. And we are coming almost to the end of the session. So definitely now is the questions time, and we obviously allocate some time for talking about the prices. But are there any questions from the audience, please?
So we have a question on how to renew when it expires after 30 days. So again, a few years back, you would have to sign up to a new trial. However, Microsoft have become very generous again to help everyone to learn the technology. So there is an email I'll share in the chat window. If you email that email address, share your URL for your trial environment. Depending on the phase you make this request, some cases they extend it for 60 days more. In some cases, they do it for a year. So it just depends on the phase you do it. However, I always recommend to use it just for learning purposes, only learning purposes, and for having the hands-on experience. So I've shared the email address you need to email within Microsoft, and they'll respond back to you and they'll tell you they've extended it. One of the benefits before you send this email, I would recommend you go into the Office 365 portal, assign your username, some of the licenses for Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI. Then when you request this extension, your tenant gets upgraded. So you now have access to Power BI for that period of your trial and for your learning journey. So if anyone goes on YouTube, type in Chris Huntingford, and then look on his videos, he's got exactly the same email on there. That's how I found it myself. Again, the power of YouTube.
Thank you for that, Alex. It was very useful. I see for some people from our audience actually, and for the learning purposes, is great if we can extend over the 30, even 60, even more for more days. Is great. Also, if you have any problems with the trials, just maybe you can ping myself on the Twitter or LinkedIn, or you can ping Alex, and we are happy to advise you. Because if you are happy to learn, definitely there is a big opportunity, and there's many ways how you can get the trial. So please don't hesitate to contact us after this session. Are there any questions on the session related to the resources, related to our presentation?
So just a question while waiting for the audience to ask any questions. Do we have any developers on the session? If there's any developers, if you could kindly say yes in the chat window, that would be great.
Oh, there is one developer.
Okay, so again, for developers, the technology keeps on coming. There's new features coming. You may need a sandbox environment to learn yourself as well, not just Dynamics, but across all things Microsoft give you as part of the technology. So for those of you who are not familiar with it, there's also a developer program, which is again for developers. They give you the Office 365 tenant. You get to select if you want to use an E5 license for Microsoft to actually use it for development purposes. So in the chat window, again, for those developers who are not familiar with it, please feel free to go and learn from it. Try out some of these solutions available or some of the requirements out there. And then once you learn it, again, it takes us to a better place. I'm pretty sure some of you will be happy to do some blogging on some of these solutions they're building, and other people can learn as well. So I've just shared that in the chat window. So anyone who may need it, please feel free to go for it. So just to go to the next part of it, what is there for today's event? There's so many sessions. There is also gifts. So one thing Marius has thanked our sponsors. I want to also thank the event organizers. These guys do a remarkable job to make sure we have these sessions in place, to make sure Teams is actually working for everybody. So for those who are going to be present at the last session, there is free Amazon gift vouchers. So two of them will go to two people who've been mostly active on social media using the hashtag D365 Wave 2 Saturday. And then there will be one who has submitted surveys. So the one for the surveys will be just a raffle. Again, there's no reason why any of us cannot go for it. I would highly recommend, let's go for it. Let's have fun with it, with the community. And the URL is here on our slide here. Please feel free to look at the URL or just take an image on your phone and it takes you to the survey. So again, please feel free to go and complete these surveys. Use the hashtag. In using the hashtag, you're also likely to meet other people at this event and make connections and start conversations. Let's keep the community going. Marius, over to you.
Actually, I couldn't agree more with you, Alex. You summarize very, very well, actually, our session that basically networking, self-improving, being proactive, keep asking is a key. There are so many resources available. And definitely these three types of the trials which you mentioned, like for Dynamics we have, for Power Platform, and for the Office 365. So is everything. And if you cannot find it, please feel free to contact us. And definitely, like Alex mentioned, there are some prizes, so it's good to be in community because you can win today as well. There are two prizes for the most people who post as much and Twitter. So I see on the LinkedIn, on the Twitter, there are all the time the posts, and also if you fill the survey, also you can win today the Amazon gift card. So I think we are coming to the end of the session. Roughly 50 minutes went quick. We try to keep it simple, and basically our question is, was it useful for you guys? Have you learned more about the community, about the resources? So please feel free to put your comments in the meeting chat. And I am passing to you, Alex, before we close the session and give the voice to Tricia.
Yeah, so from my personal side of things as well, one thing I've started doing as well to help with the community, I've started doing an academy to help some of the colleagues in Africa to understand what's involved in Dynamics. So for anyone on the session and they'll be willing to jump on or to come and share some experiences, please let's connect on LinkedIn or Twitter, and then we can keep growing our community. Once again, thank you so much for joining our session. We appreciate you joining and listening to us.
I'm very grateful that for having myself and Alex. Thank you for joining. Like so far, great session from all speakers. So please post on the Twitter, LinkedIn, and that way our community is constantly growing. And I think we can pass to. And thank you for very nice comments. That the session was very useful for many of you. And I think we can pass shortly to Tricia and let the next speaker to prepare.
I think that was Shanila, right?